Hey guys, you're listening to the Couplings Fire Podcast.
Here's a couple of things you might need to know or maybe you just forgot.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Taylor.
We are married.
And we're both firefighters.
Join us as we talk anything and everything fire related.
We don't claim to be experts. We're just two people who love to talk fire. And everything we say are our own opinions.
Our goal is to inspire anyone listening to take the steps to better their department, however they can.
Let's get on to the episode. Hey everybody!
Hi guys.
So, we don't have anything interesting to talk about before this episode, so we're just gonna get into it. How about that?
Yeah, let's just go for it and see what happens. Because our lives have been boring tonight, so we don't have anything fun to talk about.
Yeah, working on the house, blah.
Yeah.
Kicking Chris's butt in Wii Golf, but you know, there's that.
I don't stand a chance in that game.
Hold on, we said we weren't going to talk about anything.
Sorry. Yeah, so tonight we are talking be prepared.
No, can you do it? You're much better at it than me.
Well, no, not right now. I'm not in character right now.
You're not in character?
I'm sure it'll happen before the night's out.
Okay. You guys are all thinking it.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
we know you're all thinking it, so just wait. Be prepared for the coup of the century here.
Nice. So, yeah, this one actually, believe it or not, does not stem from Disney, but it ties very well into Taylor's Disney
fanatics, love,
fetish,
obsession. Not really fetish. That's weird.
Anywho, I actually came up with this episode because it all kind of stems back to my youth in the Boy Scouts, and the older I get, the more I realize that a lot of the Boy Scout stuff that I grew up getting taught and all that kind of stuff, how much it actually helps out in life. And long story short, this was one that I think applies directly to the fire service amongst many things. But anyway, so tonight is Be Prepared. And if you don't know the Disney reference, it is from Lion King. And that is from Scar and the Hyenas. I don't know, is that the song is just called Be Prepared?
Yeah.
All right, so be prepared in the fire service, in the fire department. What do you think of? What comes to mind?
Well, immediately what comes to mind is, honestly, making sure you have the right tools for the job is what comes to mind first. So making sure, and to me specifically, it's like, what do you have in your turnouts? I know it sounds weird, because I don't know if that's where we're going with this. This is unscripted, by the way. But, you know, we have no talking points for this at all. But that's where it goes right away for me, is like, immediately, gut instinct, brain instinct, be prepared. What do you have on you? Right? Do you have the stuff that you need in a situation, apart from the stuff you're going to get off the truck? You know, are you equipped to handle whatever comes your way?
Yeah.
Basically. And I don't know why I went that direction instead of other directions first, but that's just where my brain immediately goes to.
I think that's a good direction to go with it, though. I mean, time travel back here, being in the Boy Scouts.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Timey-wimey.
Wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
Exactly. So going back in time here in the Boy Scouts, that is the Scout motto, is to be prepared. And basically our Scout leaders were like, you know, you guys got to be prepared for anything that comes at you. So if we go out on a camping trip, you're prepared for everything. And we're like, there's no way. I mean, you can't be prepared for everything. We can't take everything with us. And so the whole lesson that was taught through this was, there's basically two. There's be prepared for, like, the situation that you're going into. So, like, if we were going camping, you know, what situations would you commonly run into there?
Mm-hmm.
And are you prepared for those? And then after that is, you know, if you're prepared, then you start learning the skill of being resourceful and being able to deal with problems, thinking outside the box and being prepared to just be resourceful and do what you can with what you can. And that prepares you for whatever you might come across with. Some problems you might be able to figure out 100%. Some problems might be a temporary solution, but they might get you through that situation.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where this all stems from. And the more I gain experience in life, the more I realize how useful that is. That's the general outline of this episode. So the fire service, time and time again, I hear is just full of a bunch of ingenuity and unique thinking and people that can make something from nothing. You know, we are the people that the public calls on when they have a problem, and we may not have a solution for it, but we're still the ones that they call. You know, and I hear time and time again of how just we go outside the box to fix problems that aren't necessarily our problems to fix, but we're the ones that create the solutions for them. We're very creative thinking people. We're very find a solution, get it done, kind of brained people. Would you agree?
Yes. So I think that whenever somebody has a problem that they need fixed and the city doesn't have another box that it fits in for the other departments, the fire department gets called.
Yeah.
No matter what it is.
I mean, you just got to look at what the fire department started out doing and what we do now. I mean,
So
they
much.
used to be just simply putting out fires.
Yeah.
I mean, that used
And
to
I
be
still
the
think
fire
that should be
department.
first and foremost. But there's so many other emergencies or even non-emergencies that the fire department goes to.
Yeah, well, now we have hazmat, we have
Extrications, car wrecks and stuff.
extrications, car wrecks,
Grain bin stuff.
yeah, grain bins, rescues, EMS, mass casualties,
Water rescue.
yeah, mass weapons, of mass destruction,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. I mean, we cover friggin'
Everything.
everything. I mean, it's ridiculous what we do now. And this random note here, the other thing that makes me think of being resourceful and creative is look how many tools that the fire service has because we needed a tool for a specific job and now we make them. You know, the
Yeah.
fire service makes them now because we created it and said, hey, we need this tool for this specific job, and now we have it, you know? That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure I'm making sense. Cause,
Do you have any specific in mind that you're thinking of when you say that, though?
Not really specifically, but
I'm thinking of like a drywall hook.
yeah, drywall hooks, trash hooks. Well, I'm sure the New York hook isn't anything that a normal average person would probably use.
No, probably not. Halligan
No.
stuff.
Yeah.
Thermal camera has uses other places, but you know there's a good use for it in fire service for specific needs.
Or
and
maybe
things.
it was seen somewhere else and the fire service took it in because they seen the usefulness of it. You know?
Actually, I'm pretty sure that's where the thermal camera came from. It came from other uses. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure I heard that either from somewhere the fire service adopted the thermal camera from other places, and
Right,
but
So, anyway, what I really wanted to hit in on this episode, though, is to be prepared for what you're going into. So every day, if you're running on an engine, and you're in charge of, helping out with medical, extrication, house fires, like you were saying before, what do you carry in your turnout gear? Is it going to get you through a basic day of work with, maybe a few complications, but nothing too crazy,
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to get you through? Are you prepared for the daily duties? Are you carrying that around with you? And then the next thing is do you know how to think outside your box? If you have a problem that you don't have the tools for, say you're on an EMS call and you need to get a cot down off a porch, for instance, because I did this here, we didn't have enough people to actually lift the cot down the steps, but it was a straight drop off from the porch to the ground.
Okay. So what'd you do?
If you went beside the steps, well, basically how it works is when you load the cot in the ambulance, you hook one side, then you pick the other side up and retract the wheels, and it goes in.
Mm-hmm.
We basically did that in reverse, coming off the porch. So we took we put the cot all the way down, pulled it off the porch, put the wheels down, and off we went.
Oh, nice.
So we didn't have the people, but we could still think outside that box and be creative and resourceful to solve that problem of, hey, we don't have enough people to actually get this accomplished, so let's figure out a way to do it. And it's just, I really don't know that I have a whole lot of talking points on this, honestly. It's something that I think definitely needs to be a part of the fire service, and I think if you don't have that mindset, we need to find a way to start teaching people to think that way.
Yeah. I think I have a little bit different way of thinking about this than you do.
Okay, go for it. I'm all open here.
So continuing on to a new spectrum of being prepared. So one way I've been thinking about this while we've been talking is, being prepared with types of calls you may have to go on, even if they aren't your norm. So being prepared for those high risk, low frequency events, but that are more likely to happen in your area. So, I mean, it's just a generalized, just making sure that you go over either planning for it or, if you have a chance to go do a tour or something, for these places or do a pre-plan, doing that type of stuff to have a pre-plan, to be prepared for these events that could happen in your area that, like I said, high risk, low frequency, but are able to happen in your area. They could happen.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I agree with that. And yeah, pre-planning is a great way to be prepared. Doing walkthroughs, stuff like that. Also, on the other hand, you have your technical training. I mean, your skills, a lot of people, when I listen to podcasts and stuff like that, a lot of people ask, are you pulling your lines every day? Are you putting in your reps? If you're in charge of forcible entry, do you know how to get through every door? Can you get through a bank vault door? Probably not that one, but I mean, have you trained to that worst case scenario where everything else is just easy,
Yeah.
And training to worst case scenarios is probably the best way to be prepared, because it's going to be some of the worst stuff that you go through. And if that's all you do in training, everything else is going to be easy.
It's going to be so easy.
And along with that, kind of with that, being prepared mindset and being resourceful, if you find good ways to deal with that worst case scenario, whether it's learning a new skill, such as like packing hose or something like that as you're going through a structure, that will definitely help you out in those weird situations. Maybe it's not your worst case scenario, but maybe you're just in a situation where that skill specifically is just going to help you out. But yeah, keeping your mind open, learning new skills, because you never know when those skills, maybe it's just one of those freak events where, like I said, packing hose, learning that skill of moving extra hose with you as you go through a house to make bends and turns and stuff like that. If you're training that in a really tight, small quarters training building, when you get into a large house, it's going to be so much easier, but maybe you have to go to the very back of the house and then up the stairways back to the front of the house, and then all of a sudden it clicks, oh, I can pack hose, and that's going to help you get all the way to the back and then still have the extra hose to go upstairs to the front bedroom, Okay. It's just little skills that you can keep learning and things like that to help that resourcefulness.
Before you go on, do you want to explain what packing the hose is, or tell people how to find out what it is?
Packing hose is, I learned it at fire school probably a couple of years ago now. In the burn trailer that we did, you had to go from, it was basically a shipping container that was split up into rooms, and you kind of had to zigzag through it. But the only way to get enough hose to the other side of the trailer without getting a pinch on stuff was packing hose. So what you did is actually when you got into your first room, because you only had, in this case, you had two corners, you got the fire knocked down in the first room, and then you and your partner would actually pull in extra hose and kind of loop it around that room. Mm-hmm. So you had like an extra, 15 foot of hose. And that was able to get you to the next room. And then you could pack hose into that room and make your advance to the next room. So instead of constantly pulling hose around corners,
But if you went to get into the second room, you'd still have to pull extra in from the outside through that first room.
right? Yeah, but you could pack that extra room in so you can make that attack, and that would give you time to reset, pack a little more hose. That way
Okay.
you had the hose. You weren't pulling straight from the outside. You were actually pulling from the last room that you're in. Then does that make sense?
Yeah.
So.
I guess that was for the listeners and for me.
Yeah.
So if I'm
So-
going to be a little bit selfish here.
Yeah. And the example I used was actually a fire that we went on years ago. Is, our stairway was in the back of the house and we had a fire upstairs. And basically, when you went through the house, the dining room was in the back. Well, the dining room is a pretty big room. So I was actually able to pack probably 20 or 30 extra foot of hose in that dining room and be able to have that 30 feet of extra hose to go straight up the stairs. And we didn't have to pull it around a corner trying to get it all the way from the front door to the back. And I mean, it helped out a lot. So, learning new skills, keeping up on training, pulling hoses, being efficient at what you do is a great way to be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Walkthroughs, like you're saying, pre-plans. I mean, all that stuff's great for being prepared and knowing. The other part of pre-planning is knowing what resources you have.
Yeah. And there's no way to be 100% prepared for every little thing that happens, but you can always have a good basis for stuff, especially stuff that is more likely to happen in your area. We've talked about this before on other podcasts too, just, to kind of pick and choose like what you think are the most likely things to happen in your area. If you do it there, if you have it there, it could happen kind of thing. So, make sure that you're prepared for all those things, not just what you go to 24/7.
Right, yeah.
So you want to really be training on those high risk, low frequency events just to make sure that you are up to snuff if that ever happens. Just because those are the stuff that you could lose a lot on, and you don't want to. Let's say a firefighter goes down, or let's say there is a victim inside, or let's say your nursing home does get, caught on fire or something. Those are things you could lose a lot on, and you don't want to be caught without a plan for those.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You will at least want to have some sort of a plan.
Yes.
And to explain the being resourcefulness side of it, maybe a little bit better here, and this isn't a prime example for the fire service, but when I was in college, my roommate wanted to change a oil on his bike, and we did it out in the parking lot of our apartment building, and basically we got his old bike all set up to change oil and everything like that. Found out we didn't have the right size socket to get the actual drain plug out of it. And of course, we could have went to the store and bought another socket, but we didn't want to do that. Basically, just started going through different resources we had just within our little toolkits that we had in our vehicles, stuff like that. And we actually ended up using the 4-way or the lug wrench to get his oil drain plug off, which was way too big, but the socket was on the right size. It was just one of those random tools that we had, and it worked. We got the job done. We had all the other tools to do it, but it's just collecting those resources and going, okay, what can I work with here? What's gonna fit? So, as far as the fire service goes, this probably isn't a prime example, but what if your hydrant wrench broke? What else can you use to open that hydrant up?
That's a good thought. If you have a toolbox in your truck, you could use a wrench if it's big enough.
Yeah, but if you got a crescent wrench or a big adjustable wrench,
Well, that's what I meant. But are those going to be big enough?
It's not recommended by the city.
Well, yeah, but are those going to be big enough to go around the tops of those hydrants?
Yeah, like a big crescent would.
Okay. I guess it depends on what you expect to run into, or if maybe they're on there just to work on the trucks, and that's why they're in there.
Yeah.
But you could use them for that. Do you have something else in mind, or?
No, like I said, it may not be a great example because I don't have an answer except for a big crescent wrench. But maybe the solution is if your hydrant wrench breaks, you got a second truck there. Maybe you have that resource that you have a second truck that has another hydrant wrench on it. Or maybe the plan is to just forget that hydrant and go hit the next one.
Could you have your hydrant top? I don't know if it could. Wrap webbing around a couple times. Stick in a pole or like a tool or something like that. Twist that to tighten it up and then turn that.
it's a possibility.
I don't know.
I
Like,
mean, it's
you need to
possibility.
create tension. I'm like, well, but
So,
we
yeah,
might, but
you need to create enough friction on there to grab that nut. It depends on how tight it is, but you know, it definitely a good thought. Maybe it'd work. Who knows? So, but yeah, I mean, it's just kind of the other part of that, like you're saying, is know what you have in your gear. Know what tools you have on your truck.
Yeah.
And the more you can think of, and the more creative ways you can learn to think, the more you can problem solve and be prepared for whatever you run into.
Now, this is a thought to this because some people might listen to this and be like, "You're telling them to carry everything in their pockets and blah 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 and like be prepared for everything." I don't like having a lot of stuff in my gear. I don't know about you, Chris, but I really don't like a lot of stuff weighing me down or getting tangled because, like, especially if I were to need something in the heat of the moment or inside, I don't want a lot of stuff falling out, right? I want to know that I have my few tools or things in there that I know and that I know where they're at to be able to grab and use. So that's the way I work, and I think it's good to like find a couple things that like are staple to how you do things and what you would want to have on scene. How do you work, Chris?
I try not to put too much in my pockets. It's kind of the same mindset though. You know, what do I use the most of?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what do I use on my typical job? Second, what tools can I get the most use out of, or make the most use out of?
Snagger tool.
Snagger, like my bow ring. Your snagger tool's a multi-purpose tool.
Yeah.
My bow ring's a multi-purpose tool. You can do a lot with it, so it's one tool that can do a lot of jobs. I do know a lot of firefighters that carry around like a multi-tool plier setup, kind of like a Swiss Army knife or something like that.
Yeah.
Those tools are great because you can carry one tool, but you can have multiple things out of it.
Yeah.
You know, those are the tools that I kind of look for. So I don't have to carry around a lot of stuff. I'm kind of the same situation you after a long day of being in your gear. That extra 5 pounds adds up pretty fast, you know. Or if you're just doing work, you're just dragging extra weight around, or things are falling out and you're losing them anyway, you know. It's not a good deal. But yeah, obviously you can't be prepared 100% for everything, and I don't want you to drag everything around because it's just it's ridiculous. You get wore out every day, but learn to use the most with what you have and to think outside that box. I mean, there's really not a whole lot to it. I just think it's something that a lot of people haven't learned to think that way. And I don't know how, but I kind of got that ability to think like that and just start putting things together. If I got a problem, I'm going to solve it. Now, what do I have in the back of my truck? Or what do I have laying around on scene?
I was going to say, like, in personal vehicles, too, and stuff like that. Like, you think of, like, okay, what do you have in your car to take care of things? You know, like, I have a first aid kit in my car. You know, I have jumper cables. I actually have a high-vis vest. You know, I have several things in my car to kind of help me out. You know, what are some things I probably should have in my car? Well, number one, I should have a tourniquet. I still haven't gotten a tourniquet in there, but I should probably have a tourniquet in my car somewhere, right? You should, you know, like, what other things should you have, not just on the fire scene, but even in personal life, kind of with you or around you for different things to help you out, or things that are more or less that may make or break a situation. So, like, let's go back on the tourniquet here really quick, if I'm all right to take this tangent.
Go for it.
That's something that could make or break that situation. Jumper cables could make or break that situation. First aid kit could make or break that situation. High-vis vest, not gonna really make or break that situation, but I kind of like having it in there, you know, like blanket, or because I know I keep either a blanket or a sleeping bag in my car in the wintertime, just in case. Because what if I break down and I really need that extra warmth, you know, and it's something easy to throw in the back of my car that doesn't take up much space, right? You know, so I keep stuff with me that is going to either keep me alive or keep someone else alive or like really help out in a situation for something. But I'm not going to have 2 cases of water back there. You know, like, I'm not going to have an extra set of clothes. I'm not going to have, you know, frivolous stuff. Even if water's not frivolous, I'm not going to have things like that. That's not going to make or break a situation. you're only going to be prepared to a certain point
Right.
to get other help there, basically. But
kind of the thing I was thinking about as you were saying vehicles and stuff like that. If you're doing extrication or autos work and stuff like that, say you need a jack, and you go get the jack out of the fire truck. You can't find the handle. What else can you use for a handle on that jack?
pry bar, broom handle.
Primary room handles, tire irons,
Mm.
things like that. I mean,
Mhm.
like, just start thinking, okay, what kind of does the same concept as whatever I'm missing or
Yeah.
whatever's broken, For instance, if you're out in the winter flowing water and things get icy, you can put
Kitty litter.
kitty litter down
Yeah.
on that ice. That way no one's slipping and falling.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can put floor dry on it, does the same thing, whatever's cheaper at the time. But it's just something, heck, you can take gravel from the side of the road if you have gravel on your road and put it on the ice. You're using multiple different things to do the same thing. And that's what being resourceful is. It's just whatever is at your fingertips, how can you make it work?
I think this is kind of two different topics, which isn't a bad thing that's getting blended together. But being resourceful and being prepared go hand in hand, but they're two different things.
Yeah, like you can be prepared for as much as you can, but the other half of being prepared, since you can't prepare 100% for everything,
Mm-hmm.
the next best thing is to be resourceful and be able to problem solve. Be a critical thinker.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, it's still not going to get you 100%, but if you can learn to be prepared for most stuff that you're going to run into in a good way, in a practical way, be resourceful for what you can be, and then the rest, you've done what you can.
Yeah.
Pre-plan, plan, train, learn skills, do as much as you can to be prepared. And in doing so, you'll help your customers out and citizens and be a better firefighter.
It's funny how you say customers. I think you've heard me do business stuff way too long when you say customers about the citizens. But
citizens are your customers.
They are your customers.
That's very true. So
they're the ones who pay for everything.
they are.
No matter how you look at it, whether it's career or volunteer, they're the ones who pay for everything.
That's right. Anyway, this one's gonna be a short one. This one is gonna be a really short one. Like I said though, it's not a huge topic. It's pretty basic, but I definitely think it's an important part of being a firefighter because we are, like we said at the beginning, we get called on a lot of stuff that just may not necessarily be our problem, but we still got to figure out a way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the American Fire Service. So
that's the fire service anywhere.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's just, and like I said at the beginning, look how many tools we have now versus what we used to have. If you think you got an idea for a tool that's going to work, try it. I mean, what's the harm? If you got something in mind that's going to make your job easier, why not try it? Be creative. Think outside that box and go for it.
Yeah.
Try it out. If it works, great. If it doesn't, you haven't lost anything except a little bit of effort.
Yeah.
So
it just reminds me of the slam again. I can't believe you told me about that. You brought it up in an episode, and I'm like, what?
Chicago Fire Slam again.
Oh, it's so funny.
But I mean, in retrospect, it's a really good example of being resourceful, though, or being creative.
Well, yeah, but you could totally do that on your own, anyways, without a big tool. I'm just saying.
Absolutely, but it is a pretty good example of if this job, quote unquote, takes two people, let's find a way to do it with one person.
Yeah, you can do it with one person without creating a slam again, though.
I understand, but the concept is still there. It's like a lot of hose loads.
Yeah.
If you got a hose load that takes 3 people to lay out, let's be creative. Let's be thinking. Let's try to develop a hose load that takes one person.
Mm-hmm.
Makes everything else more efficient. And that big problem of not having enough staffing being short staffed and stuff like this, you've solved another problem in the process.
Well, we all wish we weren't
Well,
short
yeah,
staffed. Okay, but
you understand
yeah,
what I'm saying.
I do.
I mean, if you guys have examples of some of the stuff that you've done, and or if you got questions on, hey, what do you think we can do here, or something like that, just definitely message us, hit me up, whatever. I don't care. Just I'd be more than happy to put in my 2 cents at least. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, this is definitely gonna be a short one.
So since this was a short one, can we get the Scar impersonation?
I don't know if I can do it right now.
Why?
I don't know, because I don't have his voice in my head. Beep, beep, beep.
Perfect.
There you go.
Thank you. I was
Anyway.
waiting for it.
Thank you guys for listening.
We hope we enjoyed it.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this short little one for you guys, and we'll catch you next week. Have a good night, good day, whatever time you're listening to this, and see you later.
And see you later.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. We hope you enjoyed it.
Be sure to leave us a rating and review wherever you're listening to us.
Find us on Facebook and Instagram @CouplingsFire Podcast.
See you next time.